In part 2, I demonstrated how to enhance the colour of an object using a freehand mask shape. This object was a butte in Montana and was the subject of a drone flyover. To ensure the colour change only applied to the butte and not to the surrounding landscape, the mask had to be animated throughout the video event. In this part, I'll show how that was achieved. To save time, I won't go through the animation process step by step. If you've watched episode 7, parts 1 and 2, you'll be familiar with the workflow. However, I will show how individual control points can be animated to correct minor errors that occur. I'll also give an example of an animate and mask combination attached to a moving object, utilizing motion tracking. Following on from part 2, I came to the slightly more tedious part. I had to animate both the position and scale parameters to get the mask to follow the butte outline. This involved enabling keyframe for the parameters, then adjusting the scale and position at various points on the timeline. If I scrub the timeline, you can see how the mask attempts to follow the butte. You'll also see that there are parts of the animation that don't quite fit. Due to the non-linear movement of the butte in the frame, it's difficult to get the mask to follow it accurately. This normally won't be noticeable when the timeline is played though. If it's unacceptable, individual control points can be animated to correct the errors. But if you decide to do this, you must enable path parameter keyframe in the mask's transform section. To demonstrate this, I'll just modify a few control points. This is one of the sections where the mask is a little out. The desert background won't be affected much, but the sky will. I'll adjust a few keyframes to correct this. You keep doing this until you're satisfied. Quite frankly, with a video sequence like this, these small discrepancies won't be noticed. Animating an animated mask using motion tracking. If that heading doesn't make any sense, here's an explanation. I want to create a combination of two predefined masks, and one of them will change shape repeatedly over time. During this time period, I want the mask combination to follow a moving object using motion tracking. So, an animated mask will, itself, be animated. I'm going to use the same video event that I used in episode 10. A suitable mask combination will be created, animated, and motion tracked to one of the people. First, I'm going to create the mask combination. This will be applied to a yellow plane layer. I want the star to symbolize the sun's rays, so I'll alter the parameters to achieve this. Because I want to animate each point of the star, I'm going to increase the number of points to 10. Now I'll create a circle mask, then place it over the star mask. Remember, to create a perfect circle, hold the Shift key down while drawing. I'll now move the circle into position on the star. With the circle in position, I'll change its blend mode to subtract. Now to animate the star. As I mentioned, I want the star's point to expand and contract in opposition to their neighbours. Because this involves animating the star's path, I first need to enable keyframing for the path parameter in the Star Masks Transform section. So, at the start of the timeline, I need to copy this keyframe. This is so I can make sure that the outer points at the next keyframe match. Now, at this keyframe, I'll contract every other point. To be able to do this, I need to select the Freehand Mask tool. Don't worry if it's not perfect, it won't be noticeable. Now I want the points to fluctuate every 5 frames, so I'll move the playhead to the 5 frame mark. I'll expand the timeline to make the keyframes clearer. At this point, I'll create a keyframe and paste the original keyframe onto it. Here, each star point will have changed position. Because I want the sequence to repeat, I can simply copy these 2 keyframes and paste them at the next time value. This will be at the 10 frame mark. I can now copy these 4 keyframes to the 20 frame mark. I need to repeat that operation until the entire timeline is populated. Obviously, this is a simple animation. You can make it as complex as you like. Now, I need to do the motion tracking, so I'll hide the mask combination and load the video event into the composite editor. If you saw episode 10, you'll recognize the video event. In that episode, I described motion tracking, so I'll not go into detail here. As in episode 10, I need to eliminate the first blank frame. Now, my intention is to surround one of these ladies' heads with the mask combination and have it move with her. So I need to determine which lady and which part of her to motion track. To help me decide, I'll scrub the timeline. I can't track their heads because there's too much variation. They all turn their heads at some point. So I'll track the shirt collar of the lady on the left. That's the tracking done. Now I need to unhide the plane layer and parent it to the tracking point. plane layer now needs moving into position. You can resize the mask combination if necessary by scaling the plane layer. In this case it's obviously too big, so it needs resizing. After caching, I'll play the video. You'll probably agree that this particular example serves no practical purpose. What it does, though, is demonstrate the principles involved. In this episode, I've shown how masks can be used to color grade specific areas of a video sequence. I've also demonstrated how a mask or a combination of masks can have their shapes animated. The way you utilize masks really depends upon your imagination. Join me next time if you can. Meanwhile, please consider subscribing if you haven't already done so. Bye for now.